Hey, welcome everybody. I see that we've got numbers coming in, which is awesome. It is a treat to be here on a Friday night. I do believe it's Friday. I kind of lost all the days. Everyone ends in Y, but why? Why are we here? Well, I tell you, I I enjoy sort of hosting these creative side chats, and I get to oftentimes meet artists that I haven't met before. I sometimes get to revisit with artists that I haven't seen in a while. Done a couple shows lately, actually in person, which was kind of exciting. But it's not very often that I not only get to host a creative side chat, but I get to do it with an artist that I have become incredibly good friends with over the last probably what now it's 13 going on 14 years. And we've done this before. I mean, I've been able to host a Ben Olson show, but I think the excitement for me is that I have had a ringside seat to the evolution of a master, and that when I met Ben back, boy, in 2008 or nine, whenever it was, I didn't even know he was a fine artist at that point. I knew he was a creative genius and an enthusiast beyond belief about Chuck Jones. But now, even over the last 6 or 8 months, I continue to be impressed, to be surprised, and now we get to kind of touch base again. And the series that we're going to celebrate tonight, and a couple of new fun things that you probably haven't heard about. It was kind of like when Ben and I went on an adventure up to Disney one time and we had no idea what was coming. And that's kind of what I feel about tonight. So, buckle up, because this should be a lot of fun. If it's not, blame somebody else other than the two of us for sure. But Ben, come on in here. We're now on separate sides of the country. I used to, say, "Oh, look, you're in the Midwest. You're freezing your backside off. Now you get to be on the other coast, cooking without the hurricanes, I guess." But it's good to see you, man, in your new studio.
I love it down here, and I just gotta tell you, it's like 9 with a wind chill of -2 or something in Chicago. I don't miss it. I don't miss it. I still, even though it was a balmy or very chilly 64 degrees today, I still went barefoot and in flip flops, and I grilled outside without freezing my tail off. So, I figure if we conquer each side of the continent, like we're doing pretty good, and we just envelop the middle.
Yep. Well, you have a tradition when you host Fabio and other artists, kind of like, kicking it off with, cheers to the night. So, you usually ask him, what are you enjoying tonight to just relax and enjoy? It's kind of like sitting by the fire with a bunch of good friends. What are your libations tonight? Just,
So in my corksicle glass, which is thermal, so that way my margarita stays. I figure we've gone grandiose with the giant trophy glasses and all that kind of stuff. Let's be a little bit more reasonable. So this is my
nice.
Spider-Man corksicle. Maria, our good friend Maria, who I moved down here, and
Yep.
there's all kinds of people that I know, and they're close. So
That's awesome.
Maria brought margaritas,
Oh,
and
fantastic.
so it's kind of like, if I didn't have a margarita, I think people would be shocked. And then I do have another different
Later.
alcohol that
Okay.
we will
Enjoy later.
Mhm.
Well, I decided that it was only appropriate that I find something to join you. I know it's not a margarita, because I'm in Southern California, so that would be just way too typical.
Yeah.
Now you can, I mean, it is that. Now, if you have any idea what this reference means, that's what I'm drinking.
I don't.
It's called Screwball. It is a peanut butter bourbon. So
Really?
yes, I mean it is, and everybody else in my family thinks it's disgusting, and I got to tell you,
It probably goes down smooth, doesn't it?
peanut butter. Yes. So tonight I'm a screwball for sure.
I
So
love it.
cheers to you, buddy.
Cheers, buddy.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, so as I was mentioning, and yeah, I might as well stay screwball tonight. Why not? Until we go somewhere else. But
I know.
so I think we've told the story before about how we met, art show in the Chicago area, kind of like, you're my little brother to some extent. I hate to say, because you're not that much older than my eldest son, so but I'm not going there, because we just became good friends immediately, and all the travel out, and then the Center for Creativity was born out there, and a new one in Central Florida is going. And so, but we probably interact. I kind of feel like, when I came to the company in the 90s, that I got to see Chuck, maybe 3 to 5 times a year before I came to the company, because it was just holidays and whatnot. I was working too much, and in all kinds of different jobs, and I came to the company. All of a sudden, I got to see him like 3 or 4 times a week, and that is kind of what I'm feeling about how, with all the projects that we've got going on, you and I, whether it's a lot of text messages going back and forth, but occasionally it's like, can you jump on the phone for 5 minutes and whatnot? And so, at least 2, 3 times a week, because we've got all these different things with the Center for Creativity, with the art projects, with all the other things, and we'll share some of them tonight. I feel so privileged that, I get to like hang out with you on a regular basis. And, this has been a fun ride to watch, this whole evolution of you, your family, your move, the whole thing. So, give us a little taste of what it's like to live, other than being able to, queue in the middle of November. I mean, hello.
Barefoot, by the way, barefoot, because I queued in the middle of winter in Chicago, and I wasn't barefoot.
You, you, you had the Uggs on, or the mucklucks. Yeah, that's good. So I mean, life is good down there. I know you've been grinding the midnight oil with all the artwork you've been churning out, for sure.
I have to say, first of all, I echo the sentiments. And when we first met, and there's something about people, and sometimes you just kind of have an instant connection. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen sometimes. And I remember what you said that first time. I'm sitting like that. This is, I grew up, right? Chuck is my childhood. Chuck has influenced all this stuff that comes around, sense of humor, everything. And I'm sitting there with his grandson, who's brought the Oscar, and I'm getting my first ever Chuck Jones Gallery original. It was and I have it. It's out there in the living room, and it's Marvin the Martian. It's original production drawing from his last Marvin the Martian film, and that was like a thing. Like this is a piece of my childhood. And I remember what you told me, and we've said this before, but you were like, "There's something here." Like we're gonna have to keep in contact. And I'm like, and I'm like, but you're you and I'm me. Like, I'm nobody. And so what I appreciate is, the more, like, your family is wonderful. The legacy of Chuck continues through, Linda, through you, through your kids, through your entire family. And what's been such a blessing is the more I get to know you, man, the more I love you. And I enjoy the journey, because I think, maybe to some people's chagrin, is one of those things that, like, I got an idea. What you want to do, right?
Yeah.
Like where's the check and balance? We'll get to that. So I've appreciated everything. You guys have been so kind and generous, and your support has meant so much to me. So I really appreciate it.
Well, you're blowing up a little bit like Wile E. Coyote TNT, where it literally, and it's not backfiring. I think that's the best part, is that all of a sudden, when you got inspired, and you've always drawn, and you've always shown me cool stuff, and, you've done doodles and a lot of the artwork for the Center for Creativity, but briefly, how did you decide to get inspired to be like, I want to do this. I want to do what, the galleries are doing, and what the artists that I so appreciate, what Chuck was able to do in the galleries and whatnot. What kind of gave you that spark?
Well, it was, I make no, it's no secret. When I was in high school, right, the first book that I got from the library. There were two, and the first one that I grabbed when I got into high school because they had a bigger library was Chuck Amuck. And it was the cover from it because I went to the art and animation part and they had the book and I was like, who is this man who is like, that's yes. And I started reading it and how he approached things and his sense of humor, just his professionalism, his dedication, right? Like art, doing this stuff is not like well, I'll just wait for a thought to happen. No, you put the work in, and Chuck put the work in, and he was surrounded by great people. So, you know, to go from that into thinking I wanted to go into animation and then getting into Ringling School of Art and Design, not being able to afford the school, going to a really great community college in College DuPage, and then getting into design, you know, and learning that I thought I always wanted to be an animator. Really what I wanted to be was a creative, and then to get that creativity out in multiple formats. So when I came out for in 2012 and came to visit you for Chuck's 100th birthday, which was still one of the, it was a rejuvenating, and we've gone into it, I won't go into tonight, but it was definitely something that rejuvenated my soul, and I needed that because I was in a very bad spot, you know, going through a really rough spot, and you shared some, you know, wisdom, and just you understood where I was coming from. And so to go from that and to watch this whole world unfold, and then to realize like even if you didn't do animation, look at all the stuff that you know, like that is going on. And then I came out for Red Dot, and then I'm looking at all these, and then I start to get to know all the art, you know, some of the artists like Mike Kungle, and you know, and like, how are these guys, like, this is brilliant, you know, Rob Kaz, and all these things. So I'm like, I was a fine art illustrator. That's what my major was, and I'm like, I love doing design, but I would love to get back into this. And that's how that birthed, to be like, you could do this. And I'm like, oh, and but you better have an idea, and you better be able to explain it, and then you be able to do it. So that's how that just kind of, it was one thing, you know. I find the path that God has me on is not the one that I thought I was going to be on. And when I look back at everything that happened before, I wouldn't change a thing. Bad, good, none of it. I wouldn't change a thing, because you and I wouldn't be sitting here right now if something back there.
Yeah.
And hindsight's always 2020, but I've learned some things. Yep. And so
well, hindsight is now 2022 and almost 2023. Yeah. So there it is. Yeah.
We're almost in 2023. So
yeah, it is.
I loved it. And you know, what I love about this is it's the same approach I have in design, where if I'm working with clients in branding and corporate stuff, I have to be able to tell them why I'm doing something. There has to be a story behind why it is. Well, that's no different than this. Like, that's the underlying thread through all of this. And that's what Chuck, I mean, he had a story for everything. He, you know, like, there was something behind it. It wasn't just, I did this cool thing just because. Like, there was thought, and because this was the most important creative tool to Chuck, and then how he got it out. So I learned, even though I never had the opportunity to meet him, he taught me through his writings and through videos and stuff like that, and then through meeting you and getting to know you guys and Linda, and just, you know, all the stories and stuff that surround that. So now I get to do those things, and it's like this doesn't stop. It just doesn't turn off. You can ask my wife, maybe to her chagrin also. It just keeps going. So like, there's what's important to me. Like, while I'm an artist and I love doing this, I love working with you guys in the gallery to be able to create these things that mean so much to me. I'm a collector. Like, Baton Bunny, original layout drawing, production drawing, Chuck. Okay. What people can see back here is Chuck's, like, when you showed me this, and you're like, this is out of Chuck's sketchbook. I'm like, put it now. Here's the plastic. Give me that. And then right there is little Craig and little Todd, right? The two, which is sketching at the beach. Like, I love this stuff, and I live and breathe it, and I surround myself with it, and all these wonderful people that create it. And I feel very blessed to be able to, you know, have several, like, the drawings to me are what I attach myself to in some of Chuck's stuff, and so there's so much character. So yeah. I love living in the world, man. I'm a 23-year-old, 12-year-old.
There you go. Okay, talking about drawing. So you know, I've watched you over the years. In October, you know, I commit to it, and that's a commitment during Inktober to do something every day. I mean, there are sometimes I don't even get out of bed every day in October. So, I mean, it seems like a better thing not to, you know, commit to something every single day. Yet you're doing amazing works of art every single day. And did you approach it differently this year? I mean, how did you, because last year was different. I mean, it was different sets of drawings and things like that. This time seemed to have a lot of story to it. And did you decide in September that you were going to do something different this time?
Yeah, and this was the most work I've ever put into an Inktober. And my buddy Kenneth and I, who is a brilliant artist, and man, do I have like oodles of respect for that man. For one, he's super cool, and two, he's super talented. And Kenneth and I would go to these, and I hopefully I'll get to it next year. We go to these plein air art classes that my buddy Curtis, whom I call her mom because she's another mom for me. And Sandy teaches these plein air watercolor classes in Virginia City, Nevada. And I love it's gorgeous, and we're at this little St. Mary's artist retreat. And so he and I were like, hey, like 5 years ago, and we weren't drawing a lot. We were doing some art. We're very heavy in design at that point. And we really wanted to kind of like dig back in it. And this Inktober thing that Jake Parker started, like, I don't know, maybe 9 years ago, and we're like, all right, we're going to try this. They're like 3 or 4 years in, we're going to try this. And the whole idea is doing a drawing a day and practice, right? Build that discipline. And I go back to what was Chuck doing? 20 drawings plus a day. And I'm not talking like layout drawings. I'm talking like, that's just the stuff he was like, just his stuff. And then on top of the other stuff. So, I look at that and I'm like, if you want to grow and you want to do this more, you have to do this more. And put in the discipline. So Inktober was kind of like this disciplinary thing. And last year it was almost straight up ink. And this year it was like, okay, and mashups. Like, I love mashups. I have an affinity for mashups and storyline mashups, not just like putting two characters together but like, why are they together? That makes sense why they would do this. So the approach to this year was, okay, almost all of them are in color, which not all of them were last year. And it's ink, color, it's the whole thing. And it's really concentrating on like how you're bringing like the world that I love in and then mashing that with other worlds. And you guys were great. And Scott and, reached out and be like, well, like a thing. And I'm like, yeah, all right, let's do like a thing. And what it did was I go back to Chuck, and the inspiration from that and thinking through things like, why are you doing something? And I'm like, okay, that you get, for anybody who doesn't know what Inktober is, it's 31 days in October, right? You draw every single day, and they give you don't have to go by it, but they give you a prompt list, and it's 1 word or maybe 2 words. And that's it. It's fluffy, it's scurry, it's farm, whatever. And you've got to come up with something, right? Think and then do. And so, and the idea is to ink that. So there has to be ink involved. And I'm like, okay, so that's the challenge. And as soon as the list comes out September 1st, you can start marinating on it, and then it starts October. Well, once I knew we were going to do this thing, it ended up doubling the amount of hours that I put in on this stuff, and which is great. And because I put more, there was more into the story of things, like what's funny. And what I love about what Chuck and Mike did was it was funny to them. Right? It made them laugh, It was humorous to them. And that's how his influence keeps working through me. Like, is it funny to me? Right. And so like, does it make sense to me? And then you'll connect with other people who it's funny to them, just like Chuck's work connects with all of us, right? Because it was funny to them, it's funny to us. So I went gangbusters, man. And like, my wife will tell you, she does not like the month of October because I'm not in a bad way,
I know what you mean. It's just like, it's a discipline commitment, and I get that. So yeah, take your drink. Share a couple of examples and give us a little background on how they came to be. I would love to, just a couple would be great.
All right, let's show the first one. This one was foul, Foul. Okay. No, I'm sorry, FOWL. It was foul. And I'm like, okay, as soon as I saw the prompt, like I said, you got a little bit, and some come to me right away, some I don't even get till the day before. This one came to me pretty early on, and I'm like, okay, I need a foul. There's got to be multiple uses of the word foul in here. How many times can we get it in, right? So we have the ultimate 2 fouls going at each other, like a la Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Like, I love the duel between these guys. And we've got, I'm down in the Tampa area now, while Miami Dolphins are my number 1 team. I have adopted, instead of the Bears, I've replaced them with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So we've got Daffy, right, against, they're arguing over this call. And as you can see, they're just short of the first down line. right? So we got Chicken Hawk, who's going to eat one of them, right? He's going to bring one home to daddy. And the funny thing to me was we have two fouls going at it over a foul, who's with a referee that's a skunk, which only makes sense because black and white, right? So that it fits in, and he smells foul.
Yep, exactly.
Which nose clips, and an audience that is like, so how many uses of the word foul in, can we do? And that was it. And it was funny to me. And like when I sketched it out, because I do a blue line sketch, and then I put it down and I started ink, and I wanted that look on Pepe, like whatever. Like when you're done, can we continue, please? So that was my
nice
thought.
That is a good response to foul.
And so, I think if you look on the hat too, it says TFL, so it's the Toon Football League.
Nice.
So there's all kinds of little references. Anyway, so that's that one.
That's good. All right, show us another.
All right, Ryder. Okay.
Oh, I love this.
Dogs playing poker. Okay. So there's something and then Chuck's homage to dogs playing poker. I wanted to get I'm like the prompt on this one was bluff. Okay. And as soon as I saw the prompt, I'm like, if we're doing bluff, we're doing dogs playing poker, but we're doing it with I love the Marvin Fett mashup with the Star Wars and Looney Tunes. So I'm like, they're all playing for a chance. You can see in the back, we've got the dogs. So we have Mark Anthony, right? There's our symbolism for dogs playing poker. And then there's a painting of sailing ships in the original. So we have starships instead. I do have the clock in there. It's set at 5 minutes to 5, which is a reference to my Conquer Earth stuff with Steampunk Marvin, because his little clock on his helmet is always set to that. It's the original lamp from the thing, and they're all playing for keeps. And of course, Mando Bugs has the biggest pile. He's putting all in. I wanted that look on, like you can see Gossamer. He's trying to keep it. The dude can't bluff or anything. So this was the inspiration behind this. It was doing a classic work of art and then putting a spin on it for the prompt.
Well, that was there's something about Gossamer's eyes looking it over with that kind of smile, like, nope, I don't have anything. No, you go all in.
Right, yeah.
And he's going to lose anyway.
He's going to lose. Because as you'll see later in the Conquer Earth series, he's got no brain.
He's so good.
So
all right, let's try another one.
So the prompt for this was crabby, okay? And I'm like, you know what? This was another one that as soon as I saw the prompt, I'm like, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I want to mash up. Little Mermaid was the first animated film I ever saw in the theater. And like, that's what really got me into animation, was watching Glenn Keane's work, with Ariel and all that kind of stuff. And I was just blown away by the art form of animation. And so like, I'm like, all right, we're going to bring that in. So that's something personal to me. We have the D. Dumas, right? From like, it's the Jaws boat. It's a kind of a takeoff of the Jaws boat, but it's the D. Dumas, right? And then Fresh Crabs Daily. And what I wanted was, I wanted this thing because Sebastian's so tiny and everything he does in Little Mermaid. To me, it's hilarious to have him bigger than everybody else. And so like, you just got the look where like Daffy's got his cousins right there in the and revenge is sweet, my friend. So it's going to go down.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yes, Scott. That is.
We got one more.
One more.
Okay.
All right. So the prompt with this one was eagle. Okay. And I'm like, all right, if I'm going to do something, I want to use Sam Eagle, right? I love the Muppets. And to me, like if I'm going to use Eagle and Sam Eagle, I also have to reference the Eagles, right? And so if we're going to go the Eagles, we're going to go quintessential in Hotel California. Well, Sam Eagle checking into Hotel California to me, right? With Daffy, who's clearly the bellhop, and then Bugs is the manager behind the counter. And there's 4 references. So I put out there, I'm like, there's 4 references to the song in this drawing. And my buddy cracked up because he goes, I love Steely Knives Inc. That's hilarious. I'm like, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. So you've got Steely Knives Inc., which is one of the boxes. You've got Pink Champagne on Ice, right? That's another phrase.
Nice.
You've got the Mission Bell, which is behind Sam Eagle. And then you've got Welcome and then Hotel California. So the kind of theme off. So that was the whole idea. And again, you see one word eagle, and then you got to build a story around it. So here's the story as he checks in.
Nice. That looks like a lot of fun for sure.
It was a blast. I
That's a
had
good take on Eagle. That is yeah.
there was nothing more that I'm like, Sam Eagle has to be in here. So like there's got to be something. Like I love Sam Eagle. He's great. So that's how that whole, like just and thinking, and some things come to you quick, others don't. Like this one was not one. I knew some of the pieces, but I don't even think I had this fully done of where I knew I wanted to go until the night of.
So
Snack. Oh, Rod wants to ask about snack.
snack.
I don't have snack up here, but I have to look up snack and what I did for snack.
We'll see if we can get that by the end.
It's Mando bugs. I know what it is. So there's one with snack, and it's, if you look in Mandalorian season 2, I don't have the drawing here with me, but if you guys actually have the drawing. If you look at season 2 of Mando, he uses the Force because he wants these little macarons, right? And this little boy has it. He's not going to share his macarons, and so little Grogu's sitting in his little chair because he's in the class as Mando goes off, and he uses the Force, snatches the cookies, and starts eating them. So what was funny to me about that was when I understood, when I saw the prompt snack, I'm like, I want Mando bugs. He's got the thing like, here you go. All right, buddy. Like I do that with my kids. I'm like, yes, you can have one, right? And so it's that father-child kind of relationship where you're like, okay, here's one more, and he's got one. He's just chowing down. And you've got Boba Fett, like Marvin Fett in the background, that is just, he's incensed about something going on. I got to look at the drawing to remember. And then it's actually the setting of one of the bar scene from the cantina. So I used the cantina bar scene and then what was going on. So I put it all in the Star Wars universe. It all plays together. And that to me was like, that's his snack, because that's what it was in the series. So Rob,
very nice.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you. Yep, definitely brilliant. So the characters, as you go through, and whether it's the Looney Tunes characters or references to other universes, your eagle, the eyebrows, you're getting, in my opinion, you're getting better and better at both nailing characters and making characters your own with your own style. And so it is fun to see the evolution, and to think that you were doing each one of those every single day is amazing. I mean, that's a commitment to October.
It is.
And the thing is that all these art projects, and we've got you busy, and you've got your own other world that you've got going on, and then through it all, when there's anything to be done, whether it's Center for Creativity, whether it's other projects, well, I'm in a meeting with somebody and they're like, well, who would be good for this? And I'm like, Ben. Oh, wait, who'd be good for this? Ben. And so I think it was about a year ago now that, and I came across this character probably 10 or 12 years ago. I mean, in the archives, and I had never seen it before. And I'm going down and I'm going to say that I've sort of cross-sectioned everything else you've done with this long-term project of this rabbit character. And so, I think the way we started a promotion in, I think it was in June this year, June or July. And if I put this up, so this was the whole thing about the lost rabbit. And so, there were little sneak peeks about the rabbit character. And, if you actually did look at that QR code, it would take you somewhere. But, and until just recently, we really hadn't evolved and shown the original rabbit character. And Rabbit actually was created in about 1980 by Chuck as a gift, a favor to a very good friend, Don Arioli, who lived lived in Canada, and they were very good friends in animation and creativity. And Don had some friends who had a rock band named Rabbit, spelled WRABIT, and they asked for a hard rock rabbit. And so this is the rabbit that Chuck created. It was on a couple of the album covers. The I think they lasted maybe 3 or 4 years, but this character was in the archives just like this for the last 40 years. And so the idea, and I always knew that Rabbit was going to come out at some point. And so the Rabbit character itself, spelled with 2 B's, it has had quite the journey. And so I got infatuated with digital artwork, really in combination with physical artwork about 3 years ago, and being right at the beginning of COVID. So I guess it was about 2.5 years ago. And this project started and it just took off. And so as we were going through, like, what could we do with a Rabbit character? And anybody who knows anything about these wildly successful, popular digital art characters out on the internet, things like Bored Apes and I can't think of the others right now, but there are certain owl characters. And the one thing that everybody agrees is they're really not very good looking. They're not great art, but they were interesting at the time when things were started. And everybody who sees this character said, well, wouldn't it be cool? And I started to have these conversations with Ben and some other people on the team, and they're like, okay, wouldn't it be funny? And literally some of those conversations would go on and we'd be crying on Zoom, like, what if? And so it really is starting next week. But we just throw things at Ben and go, well, here's the idea. This is the character. Show the full character, Scott. And then all of a sudden, well, what if he had different glasses? What if he had different hats? What if he had references to cartoons? What if he had references to things that we all love? And then it sort of evolved from this face to having, well, what if he had an arm? Well, wouldn't it? I mean, of course, he'd have to have a carrot, at some point. He'd have to have, a cigar reference and things like that. So the entire project is that over some period of time that a few thousand of these are going to be done, but each one will be unique. And so, Scott, why don't you show an example of the types of things that are going to drop? This is the entire Rabbit series, and you can put that full screen. I'm sorry, that just makes me laugh. So you got Yosemite Sam, you got Tiki, yes. You've got the carrot, you've got the reference for the Bugs Bunny. We threw everything at you. Oh, you've got the joyous mouse on this one too, Ben. I got to tell you, I wish I'd worn my thing. I mean, how much fun was it creating these elements in the Chuck Jones style? Just with a reference that we gave you, a Rabbit, and go, this character now, go for it.
So when you first asked me and be like, hey, do you see this? Could you do, could you draw this? And this is where we want to go. And I love Chuck's inks. I love Chuck's inks. I have Chuck's inks. But to recreate Chuck's inks is a little nerve-wracking. And so I said, all right, you know what? Let's I would love to do that. I think this is super interesting. And then you're like, could we put a body on that? And I'm like, could I put a body on it? And arms and hands. And what if we did this? And I'm like, Chuck didn't do this. And I'm not that. And so I've got to create something in the homage of Chuck on that. And I got to tell you, man, I had a blast. And every time, like, there was, these lists of things and like, well, what's funny to you? And I'm like, there's certain references, like, we've obviously got Barbara Seville, we've got Yosemite Sam's mustache. And then Scott, can you show the next one too? So we've got Cyclops from X-Men, right? We've got the crown from Bugs Bunny. And is it Robin Hood Bugs? I forget which the one it is. And then obviously
Robin Hood.
Yep, Robin. And then we've got Acme TNT. We've got a Thor hammer because, as you know, hey, I'm a big Thor fan. The suits, like the plantation suit. We've got this suit, the Steve Martin arrow through the head. Stuff that's going on in like current day stuff. Like, I wear a lot of rings. I'm not wearing any tonight, but I wear a lot of rings. So thumb rings, earrings, all that kind of jazz. Scott, can you go to the next one too? And then what happens? Like, what if you did the gossamer fur? I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan. Okay. And so we have Raiders of the Lost Ark, right? In our reference there with the medallion, and then the whip, and then of course the most ultimate ever, the What's Opera Doc helmet. The Hawaiian shirt, the canine dog tag, and it says canine. So, to blend these things together and then come up with all these. I mean, I lost count of how many variations that we have, but there's a ton. And there's just the ski goggles, the whole thing. So to do this and to have something unique and play with something that Chuck did, and then to take that and down to the next
on the expressions that you did, I mean, the original, that is still my favorite expression right there, when he's great. Yeah. And that's the only, like, we made the decision throughout the whole thing, through these laugh fests, that he would only change his fur color when he had that expression, because he was gritting his teeth and he could change color, on demand. So, that.
The first show, can you show the original, Scott, real quick? Actually, you probably can't put it side by side. All right,
there it is.
That's it. So you got to go from that, and then all right, go to the next one, and then say, okay, come up with the next, and all right. So when you said change the expressions, I freaked out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, so biting the lip, all the things. I'm like, all right, do it, and the whole time it's like, it's got to be in Chuck's style. This has to look like it came off, from Chuck. Yep. So I still have a blast doing these.
Nailed
things.
It.
And,
so the necklace is the canine dog tags. There's also a bow tie. There's also an anvil that is an option that can come up with it. So yeah, there's so many different great variations.
Dude, we got Star Wars in here. I've got Jedi robes. I mean, we've got it's hilarious. The amount of stuff in here that is pop culture references. It just, when you see the variations on the stuff, I have a blast with it. So
the thing that I've been in that right now, because this is literally was going to drop in June and then July, and there's a lot of back end dynamics that have to deal with the computer back end stuff, which I find fascinating. But the literally, I think next week, the first very small number of opportunities to own one, that you get it in a digital crate and then you unpack it and you see what you got. So you'll have these within these first sets that are done. But going to the website that Scott put on there, the acmelabs.xyz rabbit, you actually, to be one of the first couple hundred in the world that get to do it, you have to solve a couple of clues, 5 clues as a matter of fact. So if you go there, you're interested, takes a little bit, but and if you get frustrated or you just don't want to do it, then text one of us and we'll see what we can do. But and then within a couple weeks after that, then the main release is going to happen. But I have just been in awe of you being able to channel Chuck through just having that reference and the information that I gave you about who he is and each of the hands and all of the elements. It has been fun to create that project over the last year, and to have it come to fruition really this month is going to be really fun.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, man, I'm honored that you would even have reached out to ask me to do something like that and to give it a shot. And well, I freaked out on the inside. I did not. But it's been, as my dad put it, because I showed my dad some of the stuff, and then what the thing was behind it, and he goes, "Son," so like I've loved this stuff since I was little. "Son, you get to do what?" And I'm like, I know. Isn't that crazy? And so I'm very grateful for the opportunity for it. You let me play with stuff that just brings me wonderful joy, and it's been a blessing.
So that is that kind of, all of that has been sort of this cultivation that has been continuing to, not the practice of Inktober, what you're doing with Chuck, and I see the influences within the Looney Tunes characters that you continue to bring, and I know the characters reasonably well. I think you continue to get better and better at the characters each time that you visit them. And so while, what we're really here tonight, that I've been looking forward to, is this whole planet series, this idea of that you've been creating the planets and the storyline behind it. So, I think we should maybe play a clip in order to sort of understand, and then you can tell us how exactly you got in, this into your head.
I would, yes. Let's Mr. Ryder, could you roll that, please? Uh, it's, it's hard to pick, like when you're like, what are your top five? And there's, I have like 15 in my top five, but Duck Dodgers is, it's one of my earliest, fondest cartoon memories on Saturday mornings is that film. And I know it inspired George Lucas, like all the stuff that came out, and I just love it. And it's when I think Chuck's pairing of how the relationship between him and Porky and all of these variations, that they go on, whether it's Robin Hood Daffy or, whatever it takes on in Duck Dodgers and Cadet, to me, that duo is freaking hilarious. And the relationship between those two is really what, like set me off with those two characters. So that thing right there in that film, when you go through and the Illudium Fosdex, the shaving cream. Now I just want to let you know, while I don't clearly shave a lot, I did shave just a little, so I did use some Illudium Fosdex today. And so it left me with something that was, when you get through the film and you get all the way to the end and they blow up, Planet X blows up, which is hilarious, but there's a part in the middle where he's like, you got to get it from Planet X, right? Well, to me, like, and we're going to watch this here in a second, like this next clip is what spawned this whole thing on Conquer Earth of like, well, what about all the other planets? And so like, and Porky's just matter of fact, like, Daffy is going on, and we'll see that here in the clip. And then he's just like, what if we did this? And then of course he makes it his own. He's like, wait a second, what if we did this? And then he makes it his own thing. So this segment of film is what inspired this. Like I've never done anything like this before, where you take one piece of the film and maybe an unanswered question in there or like a specific thing, and then you build a whole thing out around it and create something completely new that nobody's ever seen before and that hasn't been created. It's not, we do a lot of homage to wonderful, great films, and this one was taking a bit of that and then expanding it into its own thing. And I got to tell you, before we watch this clip here, and then we'll get into like how that goes down, I pitched this to Robert. Cheers to you, Robert. And I said, and I called him. I didn't email him. I called him and I said, Robert, I have this thing I'd like to do. This is like a year and a half ago or something. And I said, and this is what it entails. And it's like 28 or so pieces. And this is why it happens, because this is what happened. And then why did this happen? And that causes this. And I remember him being like, you're insane. And I'm like, right. So is that a yes? And then he brought it back to you guys, and you came back and you guys were like, all right, go for it. And then here we go. So this next clip is what spawns, I love Marvin is one of my top favorites, right? And I love Chuck's statement of like, we all, think we're bugs, but really we're Daffy Duck, and the humor in this stuff. So like to work with my favorite characters and create something new was awesome. And it comes off this next clip, Mr. Ryder.
That is exactly.
It's freaking awesome. And so, I went through and Madison asked the question, what's my favorite letter to work on in the series? That's hard. Let me think on that, because there's some stuff that was like, when we get to because Planet X is in this, you got to have a Planet X. And by the way, if you we new to what we can do now with Zoom, if you would like to ask a question and like come on screen live, I would love the opportunity. Craig would love the opportunity to see you interact. So if you want to do that, like we'll get here in a little bit or raise your hand. I don't care. We'll pull it in during the Conquer Earth series. Raise your hand. We can actually pipe you in. We bring you in to where Craig and I are playing, and then you can head back. So please, by all means, ask a question in person. I think I made Madison do that last time. And so there was something to cadets, just like, well, if we follow the letters, right, then we get to X. Duh, right? That's so. And so my thing was, once Planet X blows up, right, and they blow the thing up, like there's something in Marvin, and I related to was it Hair Raising Hair with him and Bugs Bunny, and I'm going to blow up the Earth. And I'm like, okay, well, he's got to get revenge. And I'm like, well, what was it about Planet? Why was he there in the first place? Why was he trying to claim? Well, we know that, Duck Dodgers was there to save the shaving cream at him, but like, why does Marvin want it? Why does he want the shaving cream? What has it to do with Mars? Well, now we get into like, okay, so why does he want to do that? And that gets me thinking, right? And I'm like, well, clearly, if it's the shaving cream, I mean, look at that smooth ball of a head he's got. Martians, that doesn't happen naturally. They are giant, furry, hairy beasts. Right? They can grow a beard like Scott Ryder has the most glorious beard I've ever seen, and they can grow a beard like Scott Ryder in no time, and it's a thing. So in order to keep that smooth, clean, it's shaving cream. So Marvin was on his way to Planet X to claim Planet X because he was going to conquer that planet and he was going to capitalize on the shaving cream atom. And dude, he was going to corner the market on Mars. That dude was going to be a multi-bazillionaire, right? And Duck Dodgers got in the way. Oh, okay. So now that I've gotten in the way and I've blown up my, this whole scheme, look at all the money he put into the rocket ship. That Martian magnet didn't build itself, right? That takes money. His investment got blown to shreds. So now, naturally, he turns his ire toward the individual that caused this. And so if he can't conquer Mars with the shaving cream and do it that way, well, by golly, he's going to conquer Earth and take his revenge on Duck Dodgers. Hence, Planet A. And going through all this stuff. Because what he's going to do is he's going to visit all these other planets. He's got to get all these elements and particles and these things that are there, right? He's got to build this thing to go with it. Because you can't just... His ship blew up. What are you going to do? You got to go get something new. He's got to build this thing. He's going to take over another planet that has a lot of beings on it.
All right. So let's just touch on a couple of things. Like, one of my favorites, D, and we'll get to K, which, obviously means something to me. But, do we have D somewhere, Scott? I'm hoping that I'm not putting you on the spot. That
there it is.
Yeah. See that whole thing. So you could explain, because we're not going to go all the way through A to Q again. Element O. But we'll touch upon a couple of them. Give us a little background so we'll know exactly where we're headed.
So there's this thing with mashups, right, which I love, and I'm using references that I enjoy as well, and I'm blending it into this world of like what's going on that planet. So on Planet D, like the Illudium Fosdex, that's freaking hilarious. It's a made up thing, and just like Thor says in Endgame, all words are made up. And so like the Illudium Fosdex thing is hilarious. Well, if he's going to these things, he's got to find stuff in order to build this massive weapon. So this is halfway inspired by Avatar and the floating rock mountains, when they're going through. I still watching that film in IMAX was stunning. And I love what James Cameron put to it. So I have these floating rocks that are out there, a la, it's this, and the funny thing to me was it's Hevonium Helios, right? Heavy, like lead balloons is what they are. And they're bomb casings. Well, why would you have floating, like these giant floating rocks and lead balloons? Like it defies gravity. That's funny to me, right? Why are these things floating? So like having a lead balloon thing, and he's tying them up and you can see where it's going. And then as he's going off, the thwart comes in from Duck Dodgers, right? Steampunk style. And Cadet's got the Acme like blower 3000, and he's just going to blow them right off the cliff. And then he snips the thing, and of course they're lead balloons. They're going to drop. He's not going to get what he wants. And I wanted this. There's certain scenes in like Mission Impossible and other films where they've got like guys that are going off the cliff and they're doing these like dramatic poses on stuff. And I'm like, I want Marvin. I've never seen him in a pose like that in a film necessarily. And I'm like, I need these dramatic poses that are a little different. So like he's going down and it's just the back's fully arched. It's fully crap. It's a long drop. So it that to me that's funny, you know, and I'm like, all right, is he gonna get it? How many of these is he gonna get? I don't know. But the fact that as he goes to each planet, we've got the premise around it was he can't do this by himself. And so he's actually worked with all these characters that played with each other in films. And if I'm going to have a villains that goes along, like Marvin's great at like going after stuff, but he needs like kind of like an engineer, right? And somebody who can like think of, well, who's the super genius? Wile E. Coyote. And so like if we had a Wile E. Coyote super genius, you know, who loves these whole, you know, things with the Acme catalog and everything, he can put stuff together. And then you have K9, his loyal assistant, and then you need the muscle, which is Gossamer, which he, you know, like we have Duck Dodgers and the Return of the 24th Century, we have Gossamer in. And so all these characters play. And then because Marvin's also played with Bugs and Hair Raising Hair, you've got your three main heroes, which are Duck Dodgers, Cadet, and Bugs. So they're not going to just let him do this, right? Just like in Planet X, they get there first. So it's this constant hunt thing because we're like, we understand what you're going to do and you're not going to get away with it. So Planet D is Hevonium Helios. Coming up with these names on things is just hilarious.
Okay, what about K? Now,
K is
I had claimed K, and I have a place for it in my home, but I will take a reproduction because I've heard that a few people are a little annoyed that I actually took that presumptuously. But tell us a little more about K.
So K is Bubblinium. And this has something to do, and this shows up, by the way, this shows up down the road in another planet because he doesn't get this one. He doesn't get this element because as you can see, they've been trapped in these. So my kids love to play with bubbles, right? And if you notice, you know, like there's those like bubbles or whatever that are almost indestructible. I don't even know how they work fully, but they do.
Oh, I know which ones you mean. Yep.
Yeah. And I'm like, you know, what's funny is like, you've got this planet of bubbles. And so it's this solution and it does these things. And these containers that are grown in them, like that this solution comes up through like a spring, like you've got the lid, like, first of all, when you buy bubbles in the case, they're all different colors, which is why what you see down there are all different colors of casings. And then you've got these bubble wands, like stand like trees, and they fill with fluid, and the breeze comes along and it blows out a bubble. And in the case here, the lid pops open, and Wiley thinks he's got it down, that he's going to trap some of this fluid in there. And then they've got these little fan flowers underneath. And as soon as it opens, they turn on and up comes the bubble. And so did you ever catch bubbles as a kid? Would you catch them with? You catch them back with the wand that you had them on.
Of course.
So you've got this whole play on Bubblinium, which, you know, imagine what you could do if you could have almost kind of like a force field around you in this bubble. And that was Bubblinium. And it, you know, stuff like that, like this is very much my kids, you know, and playing with bubbles and myself. And then that whole idea of like, if I was going to take over something, what could I use that would, I don't know, like help secure something? Like I could pass stuff through. I've got a mini little atmosphere. So there you go.
So cool. Very good. Well, was there any more that you wanted to touch on before we get to your new reveals?
No, I think because you're going to see that.
Kind of get the idea of what's going on.
We got the idea. So what I want, we have a raised hand. So
okay.
Scott, could you pipe Kale in? We're going to give this live thing a shot.
Give it a shot.
Give it a shot.
Like it.
I like the tenacity of just going for it and say, let's get on screen.
Yeah. See what happens.
See what happens. I'm going to take a sip. Scott, go ahead.
I'm there with you.
Bruce has also raised a hand. Pipe in Bruce also. All right. So now you're going to have to, Kale, go ahead and turn on your camera. So is Kale sitting in my house right now?
We got Bruce on though.
We got Bruce.
Hey,
Kale's
Bruce.
got the light on.
Bruce, you're gonna have to unmute yourself at some point.
There we go.
There you go. Bruce, good to see you.
It's always good to be seen and not viewed. Remember that.
There. Here's to that. Nice.
Well, you've answered some of the questions that I had tonight, but have you thought about taking this planet series with your original sketches as well as the ones that are inked and building a book with it? And each chapter is a different planet, talking about how you came about the concept.
So yes, in short, when it all started out, and then Cale, we see you, we're going to bring you on next. The whole idea of a storyline of things is like, do you do something just because it's cool and it's a one-off or not? No, like this is the whole thing. I would love to. And once I'm done, now that I'm done with this, and as we get into next year, the goal is to write it down in an outline for the whole thing out so that I can actually put it in kind of like story script form and then lay that thing out. Because in playing with this for 26 planets and like 2 pieces, like the title and the end piece, it's I'm very attached to it, and there's so much to play with each planet. Like how do they get, what happens when they get there, like where's the thing that, what's the hook and the catch. So the short answer to your question is yes, it is something I want to develop, and then as I get into next year, it's starting with writing the outline.
Well, I have a personal question as well.
Yes.
When you moved to Florida, I can only picture you at night, waking up in the middle of the night with a sketchbook beside the bed with ideas you start sketching. But your wife makes sure that you had an extra room in the house that she's probably moved you to because of that.
I'm sitting in it.
So you sleep there as well?
Yeah, I've got, I can kick back in there. What's nice is like our bedroom is on the first floor, and I can literally just walk over to my studio in like 10 steps. Unlike last time where the studio was obviously much larger and I'd get in the car and drive for 20 minutes. So
yes,
this
I saw it.
Super convenient for me.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. All right, we have Cale.
Hey, Cale.
You gonna unmute yourself? Scott, can you hit the just hit the unmute button.
It's gonna happen. I feel it.
Feel it. You can't see the unmute button? It might be at the, so there, I just asked, I sent a request. I'm gonna send it again. See if you can unmute. Unfortunately, I don't have a master control on that.
We have to lip read.
You can do the thing where like you draw on the whiteboard and then I can read the question off. No, okay. All right. See if you can go through and unmute. We can't hear you because you're still on the unmute. So if there should be a little thing at the
lower left, maybe.
Lower left, and it'll be a little microphone.
We can just hold signs up.
So you're just looking for the little microphone, and then it'll say, "You got it." All right. Let's see if you got it. I believe in you, Cale. Cale.
I tell you what, let's do this. Let's bring Linda in while Cale is working on his thing, and then you just pipe in when you get it unmuted there, Cale. So Linda, someone named Linda, I was just communicating with. So Dawn or Scott, can you bring in Linda? Oh yeah, that one. I know that, Linda. You're gonna have to unmute as well, Linda. I mean, you can, and are you going to show us? Oh, look at that. Nice. Hello, mother.
Hello, son.
Oh, and we got Ben here too.
I know.
Like a much younger son.
I've been watching. It's really exciting. I have a question.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Ben. When you do all of these 26 letters, what do you do with X?
So I'm going to show you what I do with X, because you can't go through. You couldn't. I thought about it at first, and when I came up with the idea for this series, I was like, well, but Planet X was blown up. So do we even include that? Maybe he has to go through all the other stuff. And I'm like, no, you can't leave out X. Like that would be a shame. So there is something to X because again, Martians need to shave, right? And he's starting to get furry as we get into Planet P. And he's got to have some fragment of something there. And he can't let X go. X is like this, it's a stain on his record. And so he's going after it. And he's going to find out that something's not going to work the way he thought it would. And X starts to reconstitute itself. It's in the very beginning phases.
Oh, all right. Okay, well, that answers my question. Thank you.
I tell you what, Ben, while we're waiting for Kale, because I know Kale's going to get there.
Kale's gonna get it.
Yep. Let's. So we've done through O. Am I correct?
Yes.
Let's go and so A, B, C, D, E, F, G, no, P. I have to say it every time. I just have to, remember because I can't remember them in order just off the top of my head. So let's talk about good old Planet P. That must have been just go start. Tell me what did you decide? How are we going to approach this? Oh yeah, that's right.
There's something in the curiously strong mint of Altoids that I don't know if you've ever done the challenge. Like if your friends, like back in the day, they're like, dude, you should eat a whole thing of those things. And I'm like, all right, that's funny. It's not funny. It's painful. And so you eat a whole thing of Altoids and then you go to get something to drink because you think that's going to cool you, like that's going to calm it down. No, it only amplifies the pain. So in this though, like the whole idea behind this is he's got to go over and conquer an entire planet. You can't have bad breath, right? So there has to be something fresh about it. And the only place that you can get that is Planet P, which is the, as I have it set down, the peppermintate altoidium, right? And you harvest them off these trees. They're these little things, and then you put them in these wonderfully designed containers that look remarkably like a commercial packaging system. And what Wiley has figured out is that he's tried a bunch of these things, and he ate too many at once. And he can't get, like, the burn is there. And the only thing you can do, like, really, it's just eating the bark of a tree. You've got to rub your mouth on a tree. Liquid's not going to do it. So you can see that, like, the pain is real. And as he's doing that, they're kind of, Marvin's not even sure if he wants to do this. He's like, are you kidding me? Look what happened to you. And then in the background, very subtly, is Doug Dodgers, he's pulling the containers out. And they're so wrapped up in themselves, they're oblivious to what's going on behind them. And so we have our peppermint trees and our peppermint swirls on the ground, and it's these altoidiums that just, if you're going to conquer the planet, you better bring some fresh breath.
I do love his his tongue and his mouth around that.
I mean, have you ever had something spicy, and you're trying to get my wife tried, which is what Planet B is all about, is my wife trying to kill me with the hot peppers in our garden through our neighbor's cooking, by the way. She gave them to her as to absolve herself, right, from the whole system. So, in that, there's certain things you don't go to the natural sources. Like, I don't calm it down with water. Like, you got to eat a piece of bread. Like, you go to something that's just not natural. Yep. To get the taste out.
Yep, so, I get it. All right, Q. So Q. Let's talk Q now.
Who doesn't love the Illudium Q36? It's famous. It's grown. Believe it or not, they grow. Why is it a Q36? Well, because some things are just, why bother putting, when you name things, like, well, why would we reinvent the wheel? We're on Planet Q. They grow in these packs of 3 and these bundles of 6. Okay, the Q36. And now it's this, like, Robert has the most wonderful garden. He posts pictures all the time. And he has these wonderful flowers. And that's with the inspiration of, like, no, I'm going to use Robert's garden, right? Robert Michael's garden. I'm going to use that. And it's these flowers, and they grow out of these, like, tulipy things, right? But they're connected by the wick is the stem. Now, we don't know it's a wick necessarily, right? But it's just this natural thing that comes out. Well, they all connect because they grow off one root and then they sprout. Well, bugs is all you got to do is you got to light one wick and it blows the whole thing. So that's why you've got it grows through this little thing in the rock, right? And you've got bugs that's about to light the match. And Marvin, of course, is in love with this. And there's only 2 times in this whole series that you see his like eyepiece that actually connotates an emotion, and this is one of them. The end piece is the second, and it's this love, like that he's in love with the Q36. We've seen it in Hair Raising Hair, right? And it's just he's got to have it. He's found it. He's going to harvest. And what I wanted was that pose of like just joyous love where he's up on the balls of his feet. It's the you know? And I've got to have it. And then Wiley in the background, like, what the heck is this? Well, that's the cue that you're about to blow up, because now that we've seen how they're harvested, in his like kind of like, that's odd. Bugs is like, right, odd. Right. So that's
so that's why it took him so long to develop the Illudum Q36 space modulator, is
right.
because they have to grow.
They've got to grow. It's not
Nice.
something that just comes easy. So
Nice.
we did have a question on like why steampunk, and it started out with the first steampunk Marvin that I ever did, and it seemed to me to be like, I love that idea of like, first of all, space, industrial tech, that kind of thing, and to bring these characters into a world that, as they, you know, like there's something unique and kind of a natural fit. Especially you got Wile E. Coyote and the Acme and all the contraptions and stuff that he builds. So to bring it into a steampunk world, which I love steampunk. I just bought a lamp, by the way, this last weekend at our fair. It's freaking awesome. And it's a steampunk lamp. And so it's got touch controls and stuff. So anyway, that's why the steampunk is, because that seemed to marry itself well with the world of Marvin in Space. All right. So, and I have
you do have the originals there.
I do.
Yeah. So I guess that's a clarifying thing. These are available on the website that Scott keeps sharing, and they're one of a kind. I mean, the originals are one of a kind. There is one right there. That is the actual original, and look at the detail and the color. It just pops.
There's a lot in there.
Yeah, there's a lot in there. These are not one day like Inktober things. No, these are these are months. I know you've been working on this for a very long time. So go visit those. And let's see, after Q, there's Planet R. Yes.
R, you know, I love Ant-Man and I love Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And I'm like, if you're going to conquer the Earth, you've got to have an ability, like, especially if you're carrying mass amounts of stuff, you need space, right? We run out of space all the time. This is not like in the airplane where you get an overhead bag and then you get something under your seat. So you get the PIM particle, which is Marvel, except for I didn't spell it the same. It's PIHM instead of PIYM. The H silent.
PIHM.
PIHM. It's the PIM particle. And we're on Planet R. You might as well call it the Rick Moranis particle, right? Because Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And so what they did was they thought they had this down. They ended up shrinking themselves, right? And all you got is Bugs, and then you see his cheek, which is, you know, as he's looking in the magnifying glass, we can see his cheek do that. And he's looking down, and Marvin's given the what just happened. What is going on? That's the what's going on arms. And they all have that. They're like, I don't know what just happened. They're all frozen because holy crap, this is going down. And the blades of grass are very indicative of my fond memories of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, when they shrink down in the backyard.
Love that movie. That my favorite Rick Moranis movie.
Yes.
I mean, right on the heels of nope. Yep.
That other movie he did.
The other one, you know which one.
Yes.
Anyway, all right, QRS. S.
So, S. This is the shark repellent, right? Or as it's the actual full name of this, and I had to look this up, by the way, for a great white, is the Carcharodon carcharius, is an actual name for the technical name for the great white shark. And then it's the Carcharodon carcharius repellium. Okay, that's what this is. So it's the shark repellent, Adam, right? And in this piece, what Marvin has to do is he's got to have this thing that can corral people, right? So you got to be able to, like, for one, repel your enemies. And he's like, if I can just get this, maybe it'll work on these guys and it'll keep them off me, right? And so he's gotten to this planet. Now, as we're going to show later tonight with our Batman series that we're going to debut, this shark repellent is one of two of my, like, most ingrained memories of the 1966 or the 1960s Batman series. and it's the shark repellent can. Okay, that and the bomb where he's running with, right? And so Heather, yes, that is a mouthful. Thank car. That's a load. Otherwise known as shark repellent. So in that series, right, and that was something to me. Well, as he's going after this to repel enemies and like corral stuff, he's testing out these things, and they grow on these little lily pads. And if you notice, the colors on these little guys are the same colors as the shark repellent can from the series. Now, Batman is one of my all-time favorite. As a matter of fact, the all-time favorite superhero for me. So naturally, this is, I don't know if you've ever heard of the song Baby Shark. And if you have, you know, understand my pain all too well. Baby Shark is probably, what is it, the most played song ever, like all time. And I can't deal with it, man. I just can't deal with it. And it goes like Baby Shark, do 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 do, Daddy Shark, do 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 do, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So in my pain of this song, I put this into this form, and I'm like, you know what? I'm Daddy Shark. Okay, he's come to the shark repellent planet. Now, behind him are you know, are Dodgers and Cadet, and they're on their way to help. They're aiding in this. They're aiding. He doesn't see this going on. All he sees is these two little baby sharks, right? Haha, baby shark, doot, as they go on. Right? And those are my two, that's Michaela and Hunter right there that he's trying to repel. Well, guess who's behind him? Daddy Shark and all his steampunk toothy glory that's going to bite this dude's head off, right? You don't mess with baby sharks. When Daddy Shark, you don't mess with him, period. Specifically when Daddy Shark is there. So this is me in my steampunk guard. I am Daddy Shark, right? And K9's doing the, oh crap, please look behind you and stop doing that. We're in a little bit of trouble, right? So this is the overprotective father over his children, right? And he doesn't, we'll see as we get into the last, you know, planet or the last title series, if he actually gets this element out or not. But I'm just going to tell you, it's not going to work out well for him. And then if you notice too, in the S, it is the actual color variation of red, yellow, and blue, which is from the can of shark repellent from the series.
Nice. All right, T.
So T is so great.
There's so much.
Are you ready? I have to read this off to make sure I have it right.
Okay, go ahead.
Lubricaceous slipernum, okay? Otherwise known as WD-40. I can't tell you how much I love WD-40, except for the fact that when I moved down here from Florida and had to clear the garage out, I had 10 cans of WD-40 of various sizes. Why? Why did I have those? Because when I go to the hardware store and you see the bike chains that grow out of these things like tremors, right? The bike chains can be the bane of my existence. What do we use WD-40 on the most? Hinges and bike chains, right? And so as we go through these in the little stops, before they came out with that little handy straw thing that is all combined into one, do you know how many times I would lose that stupid straw? I would lose
all of them.
And so instead of just going and getting another straw, which you can't really do because they don't sell, you would buy another can of WD-40.
You're right.
Okay. So in the background, you see all these pillars that represent cans of WD-40. We have small cans, we have big cans. There are 10 cans behind, right, in this whole thing. That is because when I moved, I had 10 cans of WD-40.
Because that's what you need.
Yeah, and now I only have 3. I have 3 cans of WD-40, which is why just the cluster of 3 is in the front. Now, what you do is, because this stuff, you can see the little hose pipes in and around, this comes out of the ground. So you kind of mine this stuff, and you put the caps on, and then you put the hose to it. And that's how you get it into the receptacles to carry off. Because if you're going to build a Conquer Earth machine, you're going to have to lubricate the freaking thing. Well, this doesn't work out well. You pull the straw from it, it just sprays everywhere. Wile E. Coyote has done the splits. I'm in pain looking at him in pain because I can't.
Ouch.
Splits. Yeah, and then Marvin is just doing like the grandest ice skating, you know, move all the way across because he's slipping. He's not stopping, and he's just lost all control. So you have what's going down there on the bottom and all the fluid that's kind of leaking through. And really, it's a simple thing. These guys aren't even like Dodgers and Bugs don't have to come in secretly. They've just pulled the straws and like, what are you going to do about it? Nothing. You're slipping.
Love the bike chains, man. That, you know, that you have to have WD-40 if you own a bike.
You can't not have WD.
Yeah. Yep. Whatever, I tell you. And as I said when I first saw this is a little nod to Tremors. You know, love those things coming out because they're vicious. when you're on that ground.
And that's why you got a dynamite behind him right off the cliff.
There you go.
So Felix has a question. Is Ben using colored pencil with his Conquer Earth series? And what kind of paper is he using? Is it black paper? Does he have to use brighter colors on the black paper? So great comment, great question, Felix. Yes, to your question, is the entire Conquer Earth series is done in Prismacolor Premier colored pencil. And the reason why I use that is because it is a waxier core, a softer core colored pencil. And I can blend with that, which means if I do a darker color, I can actually build a lighter color on top of that. I can get some highlights and lowlights. I can work it back and forth. And it treats a little bit like oil paint for me to a degree. And I can get vibrant. Why I use halftone like dark or black paper. I use a Strathmore, and it's a slightly textured 12 by 18 paper. And it holds the wax and stuff of the pigment well, but you have to be careful on what colors you use, because just like in paint, some colors are more translucent, and like a really bright yellow, I could rub and it's not going to show through the black, and it'll actually like start to scratch in the paper. So there's a whole technique to these things on how and which colors work well to really pop the color and bring it out. So great question, Felix.
All right. So where are we at? TU.
You now I had to look up this also. It's phosphorescence codeus. Okay. It's glow in the dark paint. Now I don't know about you, but I love playing with paint. My kids love playing with paint, especially glow in the dark paint. And if in through his series on what he's using to conquer Earth, he's got to tag certain elements that others can't see, right? And so if he can tag certain elements, like if he can tag his enemies to see where they're going, all he has to do is shine a light on that. And therefore, as he's conquering this planet, he's tracking them down, right? Oh, duh, it only makes perfect sense. Now, so we've got the love of my kids with paint all over the place, which is what this goes down. And then we've got the down here in Florida, we have these roots that grow, these vines. It is the bane of my friggin' existence, okay? Because these vines grow up and they can get chunky and they choke the trees out. And when we got in, dude, I've been cutting vines all summer long into the fall. And so these vines right there are what is out in my yard, what is all drying up, and I burn the crap out of these things when I'm done. So what I thought about though is like, I love like the shapes and stuff it takes. So in harvesting this glow in the dark paint, it comes out of these flower petal leaves, right? And you can tell what color the paint is by what vein is in the vine. And in this case, we're dealing with ultraviolet, well, we're dealing with purple. So we have glow purple paint.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay. So one of the things is go ahead, finish that thought.
So Heather asked, when are we having a
party?
Yeah, we're in. So one quick
soon
on this. Do you see all the eyes in the background? Okay. Yeah. Here's the reason for the eyes and the vines. Now, off our driveway is someone else's property. It's empty, it's vacant. And my wife was like, we need to chop these vines because we can't see like 3 feet in. And what if I get out of the truck at like 9 o'clock at night and we can't see and a bobcat comes out and kills me? Like literally, she actually said that to me. And she goes, or what about like some other thing that comes out? And so like, to me, this is all right. My wife tried killing me with our peppers and my neighbor's food. That was Planet B. This one is for her. Right. And these are all the eyes that are behind the vines. We don't know what's behind there. So this is what was off the driveway. Right. And then now I've since cleared that. But it's this paranoia of like what's behind there. And as you can see the look, like Marvin doesn't care. He's just looking at the stuff. He's wiping the paint off on his thing. He's like, this is ridiculous. What it's doing is it's illuminating because Bugs has the UV light and all these little things. And my wife's reaction is what Wiley's reaction there, which is just the eyeballs out of like, oh crap, what is it?
Who's back there? Nice.
Yes.
You know, one thing as we go through, we've only got 5 more, I think, if I do my math right, and then the final piece. Each of these is available in limited edition as well as the original, the one original, and then the limited editions, which have already been released. And but they are, I think, people have already claimed the planet as the whole portfolio. So there's a portfolio that is available for the reproductions, for the limited editions. But there is, before we get to the end, I just want to remember so I don't forget, there's gift with purchase with like limited editions, with the originals. Remind me of what those gift with purchase, because you are just a generous dude. And, you know, so you're giving great gifts with purchase. Remind me what those are.
So 'tis the season of giving, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
this is my last show of the year, unveiling all these things. And I'm like, well, let's go for the gangbusters. So tonight, I think all the consultants have kind of the breakdown of this, but the giveaway, the collector mini this year it's a fall scene. It's Shoot Me Now, one of the oil paints that I've done for you guys. And one of my favorites from like one of my all-time favorites series, which is Rabbit Seasoning, Rabbit Fire, that whole thing. Love those. So this is the collector mini. It's a 4x8. It's done on the fine art paper that we use for the prints. I hand sign all of them, so everybody gets a collector mini. And then when we get into Conquer Earth, there's pins. You know, like if you're into collecting the series, yeah, Scott, you can put that up real quick. So there's every villains and heroes hat is on here. All 7 characters are done in their enamel pins, and you can those come with the Conquer Earth series. So those are cool. And then what I'm doing for anybody who picks up an original, and they have size, there's 2 tiers on sizes, but Blackwing had reached out and not too long ago, like a month ago, and they're like, hey, we're unveiling the Chuck Jones Volume 7 pencils and creativity pads. And hold on a second, you had a guinea pig? Oh, okay. I just told them the story of like the vines and the monsters behind and why we had to chop those whole things. Sure. Yeah, we'll show guinea pigs too. All right. So dog that wants a guinea pig, but the dog's not going to get a guinea pig. Not for you. So anyway, the Blackwing reached out and we're like, hey, you were one of the first people we thought of. We'd like to send you some. And I'm like, yes, because what is my favorite pencil, Craig? The Blackwing 602, right?
Of
Chuck's
course.
favorite pencil, and I totally understand why, because it is a brilliant pencil. So Blackwing sent out 2 cases of Volume 7 pencils. They're phenomenal. And then I went and bought 4 more boxes. And I got the creativity pad, which is phenomenal. And so I went for the creativity pad. Ended up getting like 3 more of these things also. And so I said, you know what would be cool is if like I'll do an original drawing. Dog, you may not have a guinea pig. Do you see that face right there? That dog.
Oh yeah.
Dog's not getting a guinea pig. No, folks, this is not going to be the Nature Channel where things just happen. So I will do an original sketch with a dedication for its original purchases, and there's 2 size different variations, but with both of them, depending on which one it is, I will draw and write out your dedication in one of Chuck's Volume 7 Blackwing pencils. I will provide it in they have archival tubes for these things, which are awesome. So I will put the pencil that I used to do your dedication drawing in the archival tube with the drawing, and that will ship with your artwork.
That's going to be so cool. Well,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that I didn't forget that as we're going through. So you can imagine if you go on to the Chuck Jones catalog and actually, get one of those, or reach out to your consultant and get one of those originals, knowing that you're going to get that cool pencil along with the original drawing that he did with that. So that's pretty cool.
I just thought it would
Thank
be
you, Ben.
like, I've gotten to like artists that'll do stuff like that are buddies of mine, and I'll get something of theirs that I use, or paintbrush, or all that kind of good stuff. And like I geek out on that. I'm like, maybe I don't know if anybody else geeks out on it, but I'm like, I think it'd be cool. Like if I did something, or somebody did something for me and they gave me the utensil that they did it with. I feel like a supervillain, by the way, when I'm like
do this. $1 billion.
$1 billion.
All right, so I think we were on U. Now let's go UV.
V.
UV. V is in Victor.
All right. Remember when I said that Gossamer doesn't have a brain? Yeah.
Yes.
This is where that comes in. So my kids and I love to get Slurpees, and we have the Circle K down at the end of the thing, right? And what was funny to me, and now there's an actual term for this, and it's called cold neuralgia. There's an actual technical term for this. So this is cold neuralgia, which is the brain freeze element, right? And it happens in these cold like caves, and it condenses down. Now, blue raspberry is our favorite. And what they want to do is like, if they can figure out this brain freeze, like they don't understand it's the brain freeze thing. They just understand a freeze thing. So they think, we can use this, to our advantage. Well, as they're sucking down these things, they obviously, those 2 get a brain freeze. Daffy and Bugs down at the bottom, they're drinking tea. There is no brain freeze there, right? And now in Encino Man, in a nod to Encino Man, right? Brendan Fraser, wheezing the juice, okay? Clearly brain freezes don't affect Gossamer because he has no brain, and that dude is sucking the whole thing down. And look at him, he's bent over backwards, the mouth is wide open, it's going down the gullet. And
he's as happy as could be, right there.
He is content. Yes, as he can absolutely be. So this was Planet V, which is
Nice.
Cold Gia.
All right. And
by the way,
my one of my doctor children just was listening, and she goes, she pronounces it neuralgia.
Neuralgia.
There you go. So,
okay. So thank you for correcting me. I said it terribly. Neuralgia.
That's okay. That's okay. Encino Man, yes. Oh my goodness,
Encino
one
Man.
of the great movies of all time.
It is. I love Encino Man. It's still fantastic.
All right, so VW.
All right, so we have W. Now, we're coming up to that time in the season, you know, and what is the most talked about gift that nobody wants, that everybody wants, that nobody wants, that everybody gets? It's freaking fruitcake.
That's the one.
Right? And so we have an hint. It's called candied bricarate, okay, which is also known as the fruitcake. And it's only done on this planet. We have these 4 little tiny chefs, which the 4 tiny chefs are my 4 children. And this is also my nod to Lucille Ball in that the episode with her in the candy factory.
So
where,
good.
Like, it just keeps going faster and she keeps stuffing her face and putting it all down. So this is the behind the scenes of like whoever pulled that lever. And what you can see is it goes from slow to fast to insane. We're going to insane. And the vehicles that you have to remove these things on are weight driven, right? You can't just load these things to the hilt. So right now it's on tilt, which means we're way overloaded. So Gossamer's got to stuff his face to try to lighten this thing up to get it out, or otherwise it's not going to work. And all they're doing is they just keep coming. So this is my Lucille Ball / fruitcake episode of, like, you know, going through and how you take these things which can become projectiles. You can build things with them. Like, imagine when he gets down to conquer Earth and he's maybe some stuff's destroyed. Maybe he's got to have a shelter. I don't know. What's he going to use for bricks? Fruitcake.
Fruitcake.
And then when
they have a half-life. I mean, that you know that they have a half-life. Yeah. Yeah. They degrade, you know, once every million years to half of the taste.
It's more than a Twinkie. It's more. Okay. And then if you get hungry or you're famished on something, you just take a bite out of the wall.
Yep. All right. Now we're down to the last 3, and we're going to answer my mother's question about what happened.
Yeah, I want to show this live. All right. So Scott, don't take it. So Scott, come back to me. All right. So Planet X has to be a thing, right? It has to be a thing. Oh, do you want to see Planet? No. Okay. You didn't want to be on camera, right? Okay. So Planet X is a thing, right? And the whole thing of, like, they didn't get Bubblinium. That was an element that did not happen. And so, but however, Dodgers, Cadet, and Bugs did. Well, in going back there to try to secure some element of shaving cream, because if you can see in his face, Marvin's getting fuzzy. The beard's growing out. Like, this whole thing is happening. And we're getting to a point where it's like uncontrollable. Well, I love Maurice Noble. I love his designs, and I wanted something simple that showed that it's starting to reconstitute itself, because the shaving cream atom acts like lava, right? And then as it kind of spurs out a little bit, it creates rock formation and little outcroppings. It starts to rebuild itself. And right. And this is the one thing that he needed, that because he didn't get, this is the one thing that is his ultimate demise at the end. It's also the one thing that propelled him to do this, which is why there is only one tree. This was the singular focus of everything. So we have one tree. This is leading up to Marvin's demise, right? I love X trees. X trees are my favorite. If I could grow X trees, I would. I'm terrible at what do they call it when you try to, like, you know, the Edward Scissorhand things, topiaries? Right. Not good at that. So what we have going on here is we've got the galaxy going on behind them, right? And the theme that keeps it together, knowing they're in the same thing, is we've got the teal going through with the nebulas, and then purple on top, which is success for our heroes, red nebula on bottom, which is danger and trouble for our villains. We've got rocket shoes from planet D, so we're bringing in a little bit from some other planets. We've got the bubblinium, which is now encasing this whole thing. He's not getting it. As you can see, they're trying to harpoon this, right? If they can harpoon the rock and bring it back, they can bring this element with them. It's that big. It's not something that they have a container for. We've got rocket pats going on. They're going full tilt in, but it's not going to work. So we have a giant bubble wand. They've now captured this thing, and they're going to move Planet X safely away from these boys who, like, the harpoons are just breaking off the thing. It's just not going to work. So
there's a lot going on in Planet X.
There's a lot, and this is the only cover that has all 7 characters. It's the only one.
Wow.
There's 5. I think there's maybe a couple that have 6. There's only one that has 7, and this is the one.
Jeez.
And it's kind of like the icon, like this is the whole thing that started it. So
well, of course. All right. Why?
Exactly. Why do this? Why do any of it? So planet Y is cumulonimbus, which is the cloud atom. And if you're going down, right, think smoke grenades and those kind of things. You want to go under the cover of something so that you can conceal what you're doing. Well, I looked this up just because I wanted to make sure what helps to eliminate clouds, right, dissipate clouds, heat and wind. So we've got Acme hair dryers that are coming in, and they thought they were concealed as they were getting this cloud up. You can see the feet of Canine, you can see the feet of Wile E. Coyote. And then all of a sudden, like Gossamer you can see the look on his face too of like, oh crap, right? And it's all starting to move away. So the heat from the guns is dissipating plus the wind, and it's starting to reveal the fact that we see you now. It's not going to end up well. So we have planet Y, which is cumulonimbus, the cloud atom.
Nice. Look, the eyeballs of Gossamer hanging out.
Right.
It's so good.
He's looking right at it like this is not a great this is not a great plan, is what his thought.
All right. And I mean, you got to come to the end of the alphabet at some point.
We do. And when we come to the alphabet, I'm tired. Okay. To give you an idea, there are close to 500 hours plus of what I've counted up so far in time in this whole series. Over 500 hours.
Jeez.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of
That's
time.
a lot. So Planet Z, to me, we're coming up to Thanksgiving, right? And there's something in here that sets it off, right? This leads into the finale piece. And so Planet Z is tryptophan sleeponium. Okay. Nothing will put you to sleep better than a Thanksgiving meal.
No.
And what we have here, like they're on this planet that has these like structures that remarkably look like a turkey leg, and these pillars of what looks to me to be corn on the cob, and rock formations that somehow mirror what sliced what cranberry sauce looks like. I don't know.
Cranberry.
And they have this gravy river. Okay, so Daffy's in a gravy boat. I grew up with gravy boats at my great grandmother's house. He's got the ladle. He's drinking. What you can't see in here real well is the little emblem on his drink is a Red Bull. Okay, so he's caffeinated. He's not falling asleep. And we're on these cushiony pillows of gelatinous, whatever they are, you know. So we kind of like took like these things that grow up in this plum sauce kind of video, and they're fast asleep. Now you can see the beard on Marvin. Everybody's passed out. Now, my dog, and he did this today, one of my dogs, one of the 4, goes belly up like that in the yard almost every day. Flips over, flips back, right? And he just lays there and he suns himself. So as he sleeps, that's Canine my dog did it today. My inspiration is my dog on this. And that's where that comes in. So I've got 4 little cranberry sauces in the back. There's my child reference. And they're on this gravy boat, right, of what we have in there. The little things in the back are donuts, because you know what? When you've eaten that much, you'll dip a donut in gravy. You'll do it. You'll dip a glazed donut or a cake donut in gravy. And I'm going to tell you right now, it kind of tastes delicious. I'm just saying.
That is awesome.
Try it, see what happens. So,
all right, now we've got I mean, that's 26 planets plus the cover image. You want to share a video, am I right?
I do. There's got to be like something has to happen, right?
Okay.
So let's go to the grand finale of what is Planet X, you know, and Duck Dodgers. Let's see let's relive that moment.
Okay,
Mr. Ryder.
Yes,
Big deal.
there it is.
There
Well,
it
you
is.
did make it a big deal after 26 planets of explaining. And I think the biggest thing that I love about it is that it's really one moment of this entire cartoon that gets you through those things, and you have created an entire universe of storyline and character interaction, right? Especially with your steampunk characters, to create that. I think that is brilliant. So
Well,
yeah.
it wouldn't happen. You couldn't do this and like end on planet Z. Oh my goodness.
Oh no!
There
Say
it
it's
is.
not true. Wait, I'm right here with you, Ben. Hold on.
I'm good.
See?
Somebody shook it up. It didn't get, don't worry. None of the artwork was harmed.
Okay, here we go.
Yes.
Come on, come on.
Come on, you can do it.
Ah!
How come you, all right, at least it's sizzling.
I got it.
You got it.
I got it.
Um,
Cheers, mate.
My desk is soaked. Cheers, buddy.
to you. Well played.
Cheers.
26 planets later. Now,
So
what's next?
Champagne at the moment.
Yeah, you're in the river of bubblicious.
I am. It's all over the place. Don't worry. None of the artwork was
None of the artwork.
It's on me. Hold on a second.
Good.
Dear, can I have a whole bunch of paper towels, please? You working on it? Okay, thank you.
But okay, so tell us, share what you decided that needed to come together after you got done with the planets, because this was a journey for Marvin, right?
Yeah, this was, hold on. Yeah, it's a lake. It's a lake of champagne. Just so this was the journey, and you go through the whole thing, and like he's got to conquer, like he's out to conquer Earth. He's trying to get as many elements as he possibly can. Did he get them all? No, he did not. But he's built this thing, and now working with Wiley, right, and this whole Acme contraption, because as you'll see on this stuff, there's Acme all over the place. They've been able to concoct this like ship, this thing, and they're going to go after it. And he's got to hit one button, and the one button activates the whole thing. Now, the problem is, as in all wonderful Wile E. Coyote cartoons, it is not the Acme product that is the problem. It is the inept use of the product. That's the problem. And when Wiley programmed this thing to begin with, right, because they're out doing these things, he's building stuff as they're going, he programmed in a facial recognition that was fail-safe. Fail-safe. Like there's only goes down one way. There's not gonna be any mistaking it. Like we can do this. Like no one's gonna try to come in and sabotage this stuff. Well,
It can only be Marvin.
it can only be Marvin, right?
That's it.
And so, hold on. Do you want me to move my chair? There you go. So sorry, we're mopping as well. It's awesome.
He says we. Do you hear that, Craig?
It's not.
I do. I understand that.
And then if you have some paper towels too, because my desk.
It's the royal we.
It is.
Remember that.
Yes.
It's the royal we.
Wow.
Meaning you.
That exploded. Not prepared. Let me tell you. So, oh, thank you so much. And so, yeah, look at that. Look at how soaked that is. So anyway, he goes through and, huh? I know my pants are soaked and stuff too. So he goes through and he puts this thing together. Well, in the planet Z, we kind of Rumpelstiltskin this thing, right? And he's asleep for a fair amount of time. He's asleep for enough time that, thank you very much, that the heroes, thank you, Karen, that the heroes are able to make it back to planet Earth. Now they've been following, they understand what's going on with the stuff, and they're there, and the look of like contentment on them. You never got the one thing you needed to actually make this successful, which is the shaving cream, right? And in the title piece, we have the can, like Daffy's holding a tiny can, and you can see in Cadet's hand, he's got a tiny razor. Well, in this one, like we get the full thing. So I want to show the full piece. It's right here on my desk. This is the original.
Thank goodness it was on your desk and not in your lap.
Yes, not my lap. None of the other pieces were near me either. So,
okay.
Mr. Ryder, can we take the final?
Here it is. Oh,
there's a lot going on in this. It's fairly big, as you can see. And so what we have is we have the Earth target cam, and we've got the look of contentment on our three heroes' faces. He was asleep for so long. Look at the beard on that. Like he's just one giant beard. So if you can see with Marvin, it's grown over everything. And then in the, you know, I'm gonna hold, no, you're good. I'm gonna hold this up for a second. Don't worry, I don't have
Your feet are okay.
I know, I'm sorry. All right. So if what we can see here in the back, do you see the little underneath the fail sign, we have facial recognition, and we
So
have what
good.
was supposed to be, which is the green, right? And
Yep.
then what it ended up being, which they're looking at now, which is the red. And this is the Acme Eye. We've got a little Illudium Q36s. We've got stuff from planets all over the place. He's hit the button. Now, if you'll notice, when you hit the button like that and the whole board lights up red, that's not a good sign. So everything's going. Launches X, he's at a fail, and now it's initiated self-destruct activated 15 seconds. 15 is my number. 15 is my number. I was born on the 15th. It's just my thing. So this little bit of me is Marvin and his self-destruct mode, of which he has 15 seconds left. There you go. And it's all going to crap. Now, Mr. Ryder, can you take that one more time on screen? Now, in just to the right of the screen of our heroes, right, are all the planets A through Z. You can see which ones he got stuff from and which ones he didn't get stuff from. So green check marks, like he got A, B, he got D. He did not get C because that was the Chuck Jones 2 martini lunch, you know, dry ice planet, and they were too drunk. They didn't get any of that stuff. Planet E, he did not get. F, G, H, he got. I, he did not, which was Iradium, which is where we got the pork smash from. And then we kind of keep going down the line. He does not get Z. Oh, look at that. Scott's getting fancy. There you go. J, he gets. K, he does not, because Bubblinium they use in Planet X. L, M, N, he grabs pieces of those. O, he does not. O is the Thor's hammer, right? The electricity hammer. He is not worthy to wield that. P and Q he gets. R and S he does not get. T and U he does. V, the brain freeze thing, they were too like locked out of their minds on that one. X obviously he does not get, and Z he doesn't get because he just passed out. So that's the list of planets that he was able to get something for, and the ones that he wasn't. So not everything was a success. And these guys are just sitting there on Planet X. And I don't know, like Craig, obviously I don't shave a ton, but I have had the hot towel shaves. They are fantastic. Holy crap. So Porky's got this thing of like, they're taunting him. They've got shaving cream, they've got the razor, and they have the hot towels. Now, there's 4 hot towels in there. Those are my kids. And then we have that whole situation. And there we go. Oh, look at that.
Nice.
Again. So
good.
Yeah. So congratulations to Michael.
Yeah.
They got Harry Demise, and this is you're gonna wait till you see it in person. There's a lot to this piece that you really have to see, like once you get it. And the screens are great, but in person it is so.
Yep.
I hope you enjoy this, guys. Now we got our characters. I got the classic Yipe from Wile E. Coyote. We've got one of those gossamer over the hand things of like, oh crap, he's up on his heels because he's looking over the shoulder. And then, you know, K9's just chewing on his shoe, and this is going down, man. This is going down. So in the original title piece, I showed all 26 planets small. You don't see any in here because we're done. So we went from beginning to end, and we're showing kind of the galaxy that goes on. You can see North America there, and we're in kind of like evening mode, which mimics what we have on screen. So he's hit the button, and this is the second and only time that his eyepiece shows an emotion, and it's the exclamation mark. Now, it could be a profanity if you wanted. It could be an oh crap. I don't know. You figure out the word he's using for and it's all going down. So
it's all with Yipe right there.
Yeah. So if we got somebody with their hand up. Somebody with their hand up. Buell. So Buell, if we want to bring Buell on, and then
we can bring Buell in.
Greg
so while that's coming along, remember that there's the originals that are available. There are limited editions that are done of each one. There's the portfolio, and Scott, I don't remember if we have the portfolio image, because the limited editions all come in a beautiful linen box that are perfect size for the entire series. So if you get the portfolio, you know, make sure that it comes with that whole linen box. It's a beautiful presentation. And remember the gift with purchases, which are the
originals get the original sketch and the whole pencil in the tube, which is darn cool. I wish I'd thought of that when Chuck was drawing, that I would just take the pencil away from him. But that would never go over necessarily very big to take his pencil. But and then so we've got, there's the website with all of that, and I've got Buell on. Hello, Buell.
Hello. Can you
Beautiful
hear me?
background that you've got. Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you guys too. My question, well, first, I love everything you guys are creating, and also the Center of Creativity also. I think that's very important too. But for Ben, I think you've kind of hinted this. Are you thinking of expanding the universe, telling more stories in steampunk? And the second thing, are you hoping this story eventually might become many animated series about it also?
Great question, and thank you, Buell. So one, in doing this whole series, and this will echo, you actually asked a similar question, Greg, so this will answer yours and Greg's question. There is more to explore that's different from this in this series. I'm not going to tackle another 26 series piece. But there's more to this, which, in writing the script for what I want, like I imagine this as either, like a short film. So like what can happen in this? So I'm writing it out in this because eventually I would like to do something, even if it's something on my own. But I know a few people, and maybe with some good connections and some certain persuasion, we can at least pitch to see if a certain studio would be open to doing something, and then doing it in the vein of Chuck, taking, like, I'm not Chuck, and nor do I prescribe to be. It's the influence of Chuck in using his techniques to do something that would be an homage to how he pulled off these films. So I would love to do that. And as you can see, not everything was taken. Like, he didn't accomplish all of his goals. So maybe somewhere down the road, there's something else that might pop up in the storyline. The brain is always working. So great question, Buell.
Well, thank you, Bill, and thank you, Greg Ansat. Yep. Now I know we are sort of bumping up against time, but I'm going to push just a little farther along, if you're okay, if you've got time. I know it's like 3 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast. I don't even know what coast you're on anymore. You're somewhere halfway around the world. But so I will tell you that one of the things that when we started talking over the last couple of years, you asked the question about Batman, and that you'd love to do Batman, and we have put some Batman into the licensing and things like that. We're working on getting expansion in there, but and I would love to do all the films, I'd love to do all of that, but my favorite Batman references all come from my childhood when I watched the Batman series on television live. I mean, for us, that was the way that we saw superheroes. And occasionally you'd see Superman and whatnot, but Batman and Robin and all the villains, and you look at it now, and it is cheeky, let's put it that way. They are very interesting, if you look at the production values and whatnot. But when I was a kid, it was like the coolest thing ever, because you had Freeze, you had the Riddler, and that you have decided to go and do some original works with these characters and going back and revisiting my childhood. I love this. So I know you put together a little kind of like, wouldn't it be cool to see what it would be like to see your artwork in that memory time? So can we show your little video?
Please.
I would love to see that.
Mr. Ryder.
Those are just so cool. Now, how briefly, just to kind of go through how you decided that you're going to go and just revisit the villains like you did, because I mean, you nailed them. And I understand that there were different villains you could choose from and whatnot, but you decided to go down this path.
Well, I grew up with the reruns, but that was part, like, my dad watched them, and so I watched them. And Batman was, from when I was little, was one of my favorite superheroes. So I had comic books and stuff like that. And there's certain moments, and yeah, a little kitschy and whatnot, but you look at it like the memorable things, like the bomb. I was mentioning, and like shark repellent thing, the bomb, shark repellent, other stuff. The villains were so colorful, and Caesar's Joker. I mean, you go down the road. There's so many moments of things that. Thank you, Linda. I'm just saying bye to your mom because she says she has to take off.
Bye, Mom. Thank you for visiting.
There were so many moments in that they just stick with you, and the villains are so colorful in and of themselves. And so there was something in that when I was even picking which villains to go, that were the ones that were the most memorable to me, and loved them. And so to capture them in colored pencil on black paper, kind of like in that animated intro piece where we're taking something, and I've seen it, like painted, whatever, and I'm like, that to me was like, there was something that just grabbed me on that. And I love Batman. He's my number one. Like, I've got there's my Batmobile from the the Batman the Animated Series. I got all the stuff. So do I feel comfortable showing the 16-year-old Batman? Sure. Let me see if I can get it down. Greg Clements was out, and his family, who are wonderful people, and we got a chance to visit with them last weekend. So this starts with, let me get this piece. Hold on. There you go, Greg. All right. So of all the stuff I did this when I was 16, right? And I stretched my own canvas on bars in art class. And then this was the Batman that I did an oil painting of. It was based on the comic. So, dude, that was when so this was part of my portfolio to get into art school and college. Jeez. And I loved the whole scene on the gargoyle and everything that was going down. So I painted this as an homage off the cover. Well, this was me learning how to oil paint. So I learned how to oil paint starting with this one.
So was that, I mean, kind of like you looking in a mirror just to make sure you get the muscles just right back then? Is that you just got that whole thing going on? That's brilliant. Yeah.
I keep it all hidden.
Yeah. Well, you were 16.
16,
Yeah.
I posed for it, the lighting, I wanted to do like the Alex Ross thing. So it was like that has always had, yes, exactly. That has always been an inspiration on that. So to be able to do something this and go back to like when you really, like, I've seen the black and white ones from, the 40s, which are cool, yep. But really the color and the pop and everything comes off yep. that first television series.
Yeah.
That's when they started, like, these characters came to life off paper and villains and everything. And you maybe felt a little bit even more of connection what was going on. So I loved it. I loved working on the whole thing, coming up with the pieces on this, and then doing these limited edition, because there's not very many of them, but they're all mixed media originals.
So I will tell you that as you were going through, one thing that, I mean, kind of a 30 years later, Frank Gorshin, who played the Riddler, mm-hmm. came back, and Linda, she's producing Superior Duck, is needing a Daffy Duck voice, and Frank Gorshin was a voice actor at that point. And he did Daffy Duck and Superior Duck in 1996, I think it was. So just thinking 30 years before, he was on camera with all of these great graphics and his physical comedy and the way that he looked. I mean, yes. So good. And then that's sort of the one that talks to me, because all of a sudden now he's working again with Chuck. I mean, he's literally getting directed by Chuck 30 years later after doing Batman. I thought that was so very cool.
Well, and there's a lot to the characters being able to do those, which I didn't know that when you pop that up and you're like, wait, what? And
Yeah.
I did each one of these on a 9x12, and it's colored pencil on 9x12, and then took all of them and made this piece. And then I thought, you know what, it's something for like if you're going to do a mixed media piece, you know, you've got all the villains and stuff on, so let's like all of the, what I did was I took the henchmen out and then had it printed, and then I drew the henchmen in, and then you've got to have phrases. You can't not have phrases. What happened?
Can you just share something with Craig for me?
Can I share something with Craig for you? Yes.
Ooh.
Oh. Okay.
Okay. Now we're bringing in something separate.
Yes. So when I was 19, I had a little less weight. I'm not sure I had, so the whole like posing for the.
Oh yeah.
You want it?
Really?
You want yeah.
Let's
Look.
go see.
Okay. So this was me, Ron John. Yeah.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Ripped 19-year-old. So you were the you posed for your own original. Nice.
I mean, you know how hard it was to put the suit on with that? I mean, the muscle I had. That,
well played.
Yeah,
Thank
look at all that.
you.
Yeah, Michael said, look at all that hair. Yeah, look at all that hair. It just moved south, and now it's chest and beard. That's it. It's not even, it's nothing to shake a stick at.
All right,
So-
then. So with the originals that you've done for the Batman, there's a gift with purchase as well. Kind of a cool card, right?
So everybody gets one of these for today, but as in with Conquer Earth, where there's separate things for Conquer Earth, and you have your own collector stuff there. You can't do this without doing the logo, right?
Right.
So what I did was I did on a 6x9 colored pencil, and then my teal glow, because that's my color. So there you go. So
good.
Yeah, for anybody that collects one of these mixed media originals, there is one of these, and then
So good.
It's a card, it's a print, so it's a fine art print, and then I will hand sign all those. And then I believe if someone collects one of the original sketches, like from one of the original drawings, I will hand do on 6x9 this, and I will do an original on just like this. So just like I'm holding now, if you picked up one of the villains or whatever, or Batman and Robin, you would get this. And so everybody,
so good.
Yeah. So that's
good.
The bonus, and then the bonus.
The bonus. That is fun. We're gonna wrap it up.
Can you believe we're on time?
Almost on time. I am almost on time. I mean, which is amazing for me. And you. I mean, with us together, forget it. We're done. You know, I think there were a lot of questions that did come, but I think you got them all, which is also amazing. It was really fun to have one. My mother, is always nice to see my mother, you know, hanging out. And that was a nice surprise. And those others that came on. And I'm sorry that Cale couldn't figure out his audio, because, you know, I know he was trying so hard.
He was.
But next time we'll figure out how to get his audio unmuted. But I just appreciate the heck out of the time to be able to be a part of you showing your stuff. You know, I mean, you could do it all on your own, but for me to be able to hang out with you for this time and go through all these things and hear your stories directly from you, you know, even though you're 3,000 miles away, I just love this. So I so appreciate you being able to spend time, even though it's like tomorrow already. You know.
Yeah. This is going to be a mimosa in like an hour.
I hear you. So yeah, if there are any last second questions, we'll just and
that Dawn already put them in.
Yes.
I love Felice.
Night.
Thank you, Felice and Glenn.
Yes.
She always says the nicest things online. Like, she'll make comments and stuff, and I'm like, I need to hire and pay you to do this or something. You're so you know, to point for you, I am thrilled that you did this. I wouldn't want to do this by myself, and
I wouldn't allow anybody else to do it.
I enjoy interviewing other artists, and it's a lot of fun for me. But to have one of my very good friends who I have the pleasure of getting to hang out with like this, to me, this is a thrill. So I'm grateful that you did this, man. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for allowing me to play in these worlds and do these things. And I want to
great worlds.
tell you, everybody out there, and I say this with more sincerity than I could possibly pour in, because words really don't describe. These are wonderful people, and the Chuck Jones family, Linda, Craig, Scott, everybody are wonderful people. They're wonderful people to work with. They're absolutely genuine. And if there's anyone, especially in the world we live in and all this kind of stuff, just like boost your faith in those around you, it's these group of people. So I love you guys are like family, and it's the family we get to choose, and I'm eternally grateful for that, because you guys are the classiest, and you're just wonderful, genuine people.
Thank you, Ben. I feel the same way. So, and thank you everybody for coming out tonight to hang out with us. I know that there was I can't get over you creating a lake of bubbles in your studio. That's the best, dude.
If you're gonna,
I almost turn this over but there's too much electronics around me, so I can't do it.
I got a little bit on my keyboard, but I'm not kidding. I missed like shorting this thing out by like an inch.
Yeah.
An
Hey,
inch.
everybody, happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
We're going to host a Grinch thing coming in December. Ben, I hope you will come join, because I got some great little nuggets to share. So we'll plan that. It's coming up, I believe. Scott, am I right? We're looking at December 8th. And I'm waiting for Scott to do his little magic fingers. Is it right? I think it's Thursday, December 8th, or maybe December 9th. One of those 2 days. So set aside the entire week just to make sure. So December 8 or 9, yes, confirmed that is the target. I've been digging around again in the archives and found some kind of cool little things that I've never seen before. So, actually, I'm doing a presentation with my mother and a couple others up in Pasadena on December 3rd during the day, which is a live thing in Pasadena Auditorium or Convention or whatever the heck it is, on the making of the Grinch. And if anybody's on this coast and was interested in going, I think tickets are on sale. And I believe that Phil Roman is planning on being there, which is pretty amazing. That Sarah Karloff, Boris's daughter, is going to be there. And Charles Solomon, the LA Times writer, is going to host and be the moderator for the panel. And we're going to talk about how the Grinch came to be and a little background on it. So, yeah, I know. I'm just telling you now, Ben.
Do you know how many Charles Solomon books I have too?
Yeah. He and Chuck were like this. So,
Boris's daughter?
What's that? Boris's daughter is going to be there, Sarah. Yep. I know. Let's get you a ticket right now. So here we go.
I am on the plane.
Good. All right, guys. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for coming out to play with us. And Ben, have a great night. Love to your beautiful wife for showing the epic. I'll see if I can find one of my own for next time. Whew. Yeah. Yeesh. All right.
It don't look like that now, let me tell you. Well, have a good night, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Love you all. Take care. Bye.